Well, we are coming now towards the end of the AIBotics conference. Unfortunately, Professor Ishiguro has to catch a flight and leave for the airport, so he's unable to join us for this panel discussion. In your handout, you'll see a little brief on what we want to talk about. You will see that in today's AIBotics content, we share with you good concepts on what are possible, big dreams that players in the industry are looking at in terms of mass producing humanoids by 2025. Elon Musk is saying that the AGI is for real 2025, and that's not very far away, right? We have the great opportunity, great benefit of inviting all the experts here on the stage now to talk further on the impact of humanoids in our daily lives. I know there's a lot of questions around machines which are safe in the factory, in the manufacturing floor, where you put a yellow box around it and say, don't go near, right? And they work very fast, very well. But today, machines are next to us. They are a lot more intelligent, right? You saw the little guy running around. I purposely discussed with Dr. Kevin Tan. They say, hey, why don't we just give that little surprise towards the end, right? Lebot is a very charming character, right? I myself have played with it. I would love to own one of them. But at this point in time, I believe Lebot is only for the domestic market in Japan. I'm very sure it will expand and grow further. 2 days ago, when I was here with Dr. Kevin Tan, and we met another player in Korea, and Korea actually has started to build some of these robotic dolls that's very handy. And I believe that humanoid look-alike robot will play a very important role in our daily lives, right? So back to my comment earlier, right? Let's not compete with AI. Let's not worry whether AI is better than human intelligence or human intelligence are better than artificial intelligence. I think we need to start to figure out how we can coexist, co-live with AI, work with AI, right? So that we can create a better future for all of us, right? Better future for us. So I'm going to start off with a few questions, right? In the next 30 minutes or so, a few questions. And I welcome the audience to jump in and ask any questions further that you'd like to have to the speakers here, the experts that we invited from around the world, and see if we can add on to further insights to what was presented. My first question to the audience, which I'll go down the line, is will we ever see robots, intelligent robots, replacing men at work, replacing the humankind? So let's go down the line, maybe about 2 minutes each to talk about what you think, whether will AI in robotics replace human at work?
I start. I definitely think that this will happen, but I'm not sure if this is necessarily so negative. If you just look around, the majority of the jobs we have during our life, I think if we would have the choice, we would find better things to do. So basically, and I mean, it started already with earlier steps of industrialization. I mean, when people had to stand in front of an oven, 300 degrees air temperature during the work for hours, I think this is not very well for humans. If you extend this, the majority of jobs we do today for living are not really fun. On the other hand, I think there are a whole category of things we need as humans that we can only get from humans. So I typically give an example and I say, if one day I happen to become a cancer patient, I personally would make sure that an AI actually made the diagnosis in order to get really the latest and deepest analysis of, let's say, some bioparameters that I have. I definitely also want another AI probably to select an adequate therapy that matches my genome best it could. But once I go to the chemotherapy, I would like to have a human go with me from one station to the other, because that is definitely a moment where I would not appreciate having a robot guide me over there. That would not be exactly the same as I would expect from a human. So I think there is a whole of category of let's call them still jobs. I think they are more than jobs, yeah, because I think I'm getting long. But I would make two categories. One are procedural things that can be automated, and the other are interactive things where people want to interact with another person. And that, I think, will become the realm of human work at one day.
Right. Yeah. First of all, I would say let's look at the technical aspect of it. At this time, I personally see no reason why we cannot replicate what we are doing as human beings when we engage in labor, whether it's picking and moving things around or we're digging a hole in the ground. As the colleague already mentioned, we've been automating for decades. Only thing is, we've been automating the simple stuff that technology of that particular time allowed us to automate. Going forward with the convergence of the new technologies coming out, better electronics, better software, better sensors, more accessible because they're cheaper and economical. Now we could apply this automation not just to high-end stuff like space exploration or automotive industry. Now we could apply that automation to more mundane things. And what I would define as mundane are jobs that are dull, dirty, or dangerous. Dull jobs are the same thing, doing the same thing over and over again, and that's something that could be automated. We should do it. Anything that is dirty, a lot of oil, dirt, muck, cold, anything that not necessarily a good work environment for human beings, we should automate that if feasible. And finally, dangerous. That should be the lowest and the first priority to automate. Get the humans away from danger, whether that's chemicals or extreme heat conditions. Long short is yes, it can be done technologically, and whether it's going to happen, that's a crystal ball kind of question. I'll stay away from.
Wonderful. Kevin?
Sure, thank you. I think maybe for different industry and sector, then the level of robots involvement to help the industry will also change. So in the business of healthcare, for example, we know that the burnout of carers for older person can be quite a challenge. And in Singapore, for example, we see that there are more younger caregivers in the family. And if the caregivers feel that they need to be always taking care of their parents, they can't have a peace of mind to go and work, right? So who can replace that kind of care for their parents or older family members? Robot can do that, but robot is not. While robot can be 24 hours taking care, the parents and older persons still like to see their own child, their own grandchildren. So this is where robot cannot replace that kind of social connection in the health and care sector. Yeah, so I believe that technology is here to complement and provide better quality of life for both the older person in the family and also their carers in the family. So with that, I think this is my verdict. Yeah, thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks, Dr. Nandan.
Yeah. So I think that this answer is quite complex in my head. So yes, there's definitely a category of jobs that are dirty, dull, dangerous that robots will be going into. Yes, there are the distance jobs or the tiring distance jobs where we can't get people to go there. Yes, there are the unit economic jobs or the dear jobs, as Joshi just mentioned, where the numbers don't stack up unless we get a machine to do it. And yes, there's difficult jobs where a person can't do it because there's too much, say, information to remember, but a robot can do it because it can read the whole internet every time. But with all that said, there's also jobs that we do want to do, and we really want to do, and we really want to be the ones who did it. So those ones we're always going to cling to. So just because a robot or a machine could do that job, maybe that's something that I personally want to do. My easiest go-to is driving. Some people like driving their car. So yes, we can make a self-driving car, but there are people who like driving their car. We're never going to be able to take that away from them because that's something they want to do. I think the last thing I want to say is probably to violently agree with Kelvin that when it's a purely utilitarian function, yes, a robot can step in. When it's a social or a connection type function, you can't have a substitute. So just like if my mum was sick, you can't go and hold her hand. That's not going to make you her feel better. So it's not about a robot doing it. It just can't be done by anyone other than someone who has that social bond. So I think there's those emotive jobs, those connection jobs, the things we want to do on top of the other stuff they can do. So very wordy. Yes, but.
Yes, but right. And King, what do you think?
All right. Are robots going to replace humans for some jobs? Absolutely. Will robots replace all the jobs? Maybe not. But you think about robots, like I mentioned about the driverless taxi in some China cities. They already have driverless taxi. So the actual human taxi drivers are our jobs. Okay, they are replacing jobs. Sora can they can design all those 1-minute video clips. A lot of advertisers are replacing their human workers because human workers doing all those advertisements, coming out all those video clips will take a long time and it's very expensive. Okay, so comic books writer, they are being replaced also. So robots are going to replace humans for a lot of jobs. Now, some jobs may not be so easy to replace. We talk about hospital, and we had this discussion last year in Huaxi Hospital in China, in Chengdu. That's the largest hospital in the world. 10,000 physicians on site. Largest hospital in the world, as one of the top hospitals in China. So of course they were telling me, wow, AI cannot replace nurses, doctors in terms of the caring attitude. So as a devil advocate, I would say, how many of the nurses are truly concerned about all the patients? They can be trained to show sympathy, empathy at job when they are in the hospital. Once they take off their nurse uniform, you go out and they go home, do you think they still behave the same way? I flew over to Korea on Cathay Pacific. Okay, from Singapore to Hong Kong to Korea. Cathay Pacific is a very good airline. Singapore Airlines is also a very good airline. Very famous for their in-flight services. Okay, their air stewardess, air stewards are very polite, very friendly. Do they behave the same way outside the plane? Most of them not. Right. So a lot of things can be trained. You can train a robotic nurse to show empathy, show sympathy. And a lot of times it's a perception that counts. It's not an actual feeling. Jack Ma said about the heart. Well, that's true. As a close family members, yes, there's a heart involved. But as a stranger, as a nurse to a patient, a lot of times it's just, this is my job. Okay, I want to show empathy. I want to show sympathy. It's my job. I want to be caring. But do I really feel it after I get off work at 5 o'clock? Well, most probably not. Otherwise, you'll not be able to survive. You'll be so upset every day, right? If you work in hospital. So a lot of things can be trained, can be customized. So how do we solve the problem? So where are the jobs coming from? People say prompt engineering. That's a job that's created. So we had a good discussion sometime 2-3 months ago. One of the guys was saying that prompt engineering is very important last year. This year is no longer important. I say, why not? Because the system is so good. You don't have to learn how to ask the right question. The system will ask you, are you asking this, or this, or this, or this? So AI can learn very fast. So where are the other jobs coming from? I haven't heard anything. If you know of some other new jobs, let me know. They say, well, of course, people can be trained to be AI engineers. Great. You move a farmer from a farm to a factory, very easy training. 1 day will be done, 3 hours will be done. The worker can be productive. You want to train the factory worker to be AI engineers? Is that realistic? It takes at least a few years of training. Okay, you need to know engineering, you need to know coding, you need to know how AI function. So it's not easy. The movement from one area to another area, in the past industrial revolution, quite easy. Moving to AI, not that easy. So can we solve the problem? People now are talking about, we don't want to fall off the cliff. Suddenly, jobs are all disappearing. We can have governance, we can have policies, we can have laws in place. You cannot replace workers. Okay, I was in Canada after my graduation, 96. I went back in 96, end of 96. Of course, I got an office. My advisor gave me an office. I said, okay, wow, the light is not working. Let me go and buy a bulb and change it. I was there for only a week. My advisor said, no, you cannot change that. It's a union policy. This is somebody's job. You have to call the person. The person will come 2-3 days later to change the light bulbs for you. It's a union policy. You cannot take over their jobs. So I want to move my table. They said, no, you cannot move the table also. I said, why not? They said, I want to face the window. I said, no, that's somebody's job as well. You call the maintenance office. They will come 2-3 days later with 2 big guys to help you to move the table. Okay, so governance policies can really help us to have a soft landing. So we don't have to have a falling off the cliff, suddenly no more jobs. You can have all this in place. That's what I told the Truck Drivers Association. You guys are powerful in the US. Just come up with a law. The trucks cannot be running without drivers in the truck. Okay, the driver may get less pay, may have an easier job, but the driver still have a job. Right, so all these governance, legal laws can help to have a soft landing while we plan for it. All right, I think I took too long. Okay, thank you.
Well, I thought I'd ask a simple question. Will AI replace human work? And then hear a whole slew of ideas, insights, and perspective. Very interesting. Just let me do a quick summary, right? I think the answer is yes for the first perspective, but it's really looking upon it as a AI assistant, more procedural, but less interactive. The interactive part still needs the human connection, right? The thought around using better technology that says human work, right? Work that humans may not want to do, and that's why you use technology. Different industry applies, right? Different industries may have different needs and a different way of looking how to use the extra hand to support you. Certainly to complement, right? To complement rather than to replace completely. So in the whole work process, certain parts of it could use the role of an AI or a digital worker, but not necessarily the entire role. I like the part around choice. We should have the choice of deciding whether we want to drive ourselves or not to drive ourselves, right? So if technology is available, we humans can make a choice on what we want technology to do for us. The last discussion was great. I like the whole notion around from farmers to factory workers to AI engineers. The whole, how do you retrain? I mean, a farmer retrained to be a factory worker retrained to be an AI engineer. It's not an overnight task, right? It's not a function of going back to university or college and pick up new skills. Right? It's mindset, it's history, it's background of the person, the experience, history, everything all added together. So it's not going to be an easy discussion. So I guess, will AI replace human work? I took down notes and say, I don't think it's a straight yes or no, right? It's not going to be a straight yes or no. We probably need to stand up and say, we want to have a choice. There's some roles that, AI and robots can play a critical part in the whole processing. There's some areas where perhaps not. I'm going to take a break from this. I guess we gave us so much perspective. Before I jump to the next question, perhaps it's going to be the last. Let me see if anyone in the audience would like to ask a question. Yes, please.
I would like to first thank all of you for your amazing and informative speeches about this topic. For my question, I would like to start off with what Mr. Francisco said, that if robots are being more competitive in the workplace, Mr. Francisco said about that people should find better things to do. And I was thinking of maybe turning that word to the other side. Like maybe not for humans to find better things to do. How about we think about finding robots more better jobs to do? So I was wondering about the prospects of robots replacing jobs that humans used to do, such as managing other humans. For example, in 2019, I was studying in the United States, and many of the concerns or many of the feedback students have about the job of professor was that the curriculums and studies that the professors are teaching the students weren't catching up to how fast the world was changing. They're saying that they understand professors have a job, professors are busy, so the professors cannot study newer things as quickly as the world is changing, but many were very dissatisfied because the job of professor and the teachings they do to students affect their job and career when they graduate. So I think many students were thinking maybe a robot can be more competent than a professor in certain aspects. And since other foreign companies in Europe, I heard that when they were, in order to avoid scrutiny of public opinions, like for ESG, some companies were including robots into their board of directors to show that, oh, we do care about public opinion. We do understand that some people think that robot can be more ethical in terms of managing the company. So I was thinking after listening to the amazing speeches that my mind has changed. I am now thinking that robots are more competent than we think they are. So I was wondering about the prospect of robots getting a job that has a more higher position than human, and that can able to manage other humans, not just doing labors that human used to do. That is my question. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Quite a big question, in fact. I think the difference needs to be found, I think, more in the quality. So it's not in the sense of a blue collar, white collar issue. I think, to be honest, but that's maybe because I'm more the software guy, but I think that the blue collar jobs will persist longer than the white collar jobs, actually. Because it's so much harder. I mean, we have seen today manipulation of the physical world is just super complex compared to this. Talking like a human seems to be at least much simpler and much straightforward. But in the white collar section, I do think that doctors will get replaced, at least what we understand currently with doctors. I don't know how it is in Asia, but in Europe, you can count the seconds while you actually face a doctor. Yeah? So sometimes there is not so much interaction, but caregiving is something that will persist for a very long time, and not for just the fact of maybe lifting a patient from the bed, but much more from these kind of interactions and words you have. And another thing I think that will change dramatically, that's what you brought up, that is teaching, actually. And I think that there is a lot for us to change in the whole procedure of teaching. Yeah, so the kind of teaching we have is at least 1,000 years old, in my opinion, and hasn't changed much. Yeah, this one entity standing in front of several entities and just preaching. I think teaching should go more in discovering together stuff that is new. And someone who has more experience will hopefully enrich the experience of the younger ones experiencing the same innovation that's there. And again, that is not something that you can automate easily with a robot, because it's about the human experience that you have. So I think those are probably activities. We will have many more teachers, and we will have many more caregivers in the future, and we will have fewer doctors and fewer lawyers, and so That's my bit.
Yeah, I'll add to that. When you talk about whether robots could manage people, if if it's numerical exercise, a number of people working a certain job and moving around, assigning shifts, that's management. I think that could be done. But there's another layer of management that's leadership. That requires quite a bit on the human component we talked about, the emotion, the empathy with people, taking into consideration their personal lives or whatever situation they might be dealing with to assign the right job to the right person at the right time. So somewhere between this spectrum of management and leadership is a line, and I think robots could definitely do the lower end of it, which is just managing, saying, okay, you got 2 shifts next week, 3 shifts the following weeks. That's a numerical exercise. That should be okay. But once you get into the field of the leadership and kind of reflect back to the employees' empathy and take into consideration the social requirements, that's a little tricky. I think robots can't do that at this time.
Great.
Maybe I just add on, sorry. I just add on, since you mentioned about learning. Learning is not about just one direction, yeah? You probably had some experiences where professors just go through the theories and no, they earn their money that way. It doesn't mean there's something wrong. But the whole aspect of learning, especially go to higher level of learning, is to be curious, right? So if you have a professor that is able to ask you questions versus you ask them questions, you probably get better questions from ChatGPT, answers from your questions from ChatGPT. But today, ChatGPT can't ask you a good question that provoke your learning. So I would say that the role of an educator has been probably modified or changed because of ChatGPT. But a good lecturer is one that makes you interested in what you're learning, and everyone learns at different pace, different knowledge level. And so if you find the right one, I think it's someone that makes you think, makes you reflect, and therefore makes you learn. Yeah, so that's what probably today machine can do. Thank you.
King?
So I'll say a bit about learning. So from few years ago, we have this thing called MOOC, M-O-O-C. Still have it, massively open online courses. So when it just appeared, there was a crisis in all the universities. I was on a committee as well. Okay, the president said, you better serve on the committee. Are we going to get our jobs? Because all these MOOC classes are from those top universities, Stanford, Harvard, MIT, Princeton, and they are all more or less free online for people to take. And then what about those traditional universities? So there was a huge crisis alarm at that point in time. This point in time, MOOC is still there, but it's not creating so much impact because most of the time students are lazy. They need people to run after them. Okay, they need the human contact. So that's the one thing. A lot of MOOC classes are signed up. 90-something% did not complete the class. Okay, they sign in, but they did not complete the class. Now, you talking about the teachers not, maybe the professor not doing good teaching. I say that's partly because of the system. Okay, we have to change the system. Okay, and it's not easy to change. It's been around for a few thousand years. Okay, what do I mean? You tell me how I'm going to be measured, I'll tell you how I'll behave. In most of the university, what do they measure? Where's your publication? Where do you publish them? How many do you publish them? Did they say how many students did you teach? Yeah, we look at teaching evaluation. Above a certain level, you're okay. And they do go up and down because there's a random thing inside there. Some people just don't like some teachers, like some of the US students, they probably don't like people that are non-US. So sometimes they got got hit by that. But the system needs to change. If you want the instructors to pay more attention to teaching. But I have to say that I've been in the field for teaching line for about 30, 40 years. It has improved a lot. It has improved a lot. Okay, some of us can attest to that. Oliver, Fiona, and I, we were at the top university in Singapore. The teaching was, I would say, okay at that point in time. Now it's much, much better, okay?
Thank you, thank you. I think this is a very important question, very interesting question. Right, I like your comment about, you know, will robots get a better job than humans? I believe humans will eventually achieve higher order competency. Now, what is higher order competency? If your job is to do, you know, a very standard processing job, then of course robots will be able to do the QA, to audit what you do, and you know, perhaps supervise you. But if you do a lot more higher order thinking and processing work, clearly the human competency will be better. The part about teaching, right, is a very interesting one. Yes, I agree with many of the discussion here that, you know, the whole teaching model is quite old, right? Many times we learn just in case we need to know the knowledge, right? We have a curriculum, and that's decided by the deanery in terms of what we think you need in time to come when you graduate, right? But slowly as we move forward, I like the idea about a teacher stimulating curiosity. We need to build what I call just-in-time learning. How can you learn just in time to satisfy your curiosity, just in time to solve your business problem, just in time to react to a situation? And hence the whole system, like what Professor King suggested, needs to be moderated to the extent whereby we need to allow both teachers and learners to adapt and be a lot more active, right, in the whole knowledge acquisition space, right? And this is new. This is new. Do we have the infrastructure? Do we have the process? Do we have the system? Do we have the measurement, right? If we want to talk about curiosity, how do we measure that, right? So it's this whole discussion. So it's very interesting that we go down a path. Now, in the interest of time, maybe we can have further discussions outside. But in the interest of time, I'm going to ask the panelists one final question, right? So that we can complete this particular session, right? The question, and this is going to be a two-liner response, yeah? A two-liner response. What advice would you give the audience to prepare for the future of work? All right, let's think about it, right? What advice would you give the audience to prepare for the future to come? Anyone want to go first? Okay, go ahead.
Two lines, right? Learn, stay aware of what's happening. So the more familiar you are with the technology, the more comfortable you will be as it advances, and that should give you all the knowledge you need to prepare for it, because you can't prepare for 20 years out. You need to prepare for the next year, 2, 3 years at a time.
That sounds like 10 sentences. All right, who's next?
2 sentences. Okay. So do whatever you like to do, sentence 1, but try to also grow your expertise for human interaction, because whatever it will be you do, the human expertise will make you special.
Thank you. That's short and sweet. Next. Nathan, yes.
So, yes, I think robotics and AI are coming that will do the largest chunk of most jobs, if not all of it. So you need to work out which bits it can't do and focus there. Make sure you've got something to do that benefits everyone.
Very good. Thank you. King?
All right, in the short term, next few years, be open, and I think human AI collaboration, human robot collaboration will be the thing in the near future. In the long future, I cannot tell. So accumulate your wealth and be open-minded.
Thank you. Kelvin?
Harness knowledge and seek happiness in what you do, and you'll be happy.
Well done, well done. So there you have it, some good advice for the audience to consider. I'd like to add on one comment. Independent thinking. We humans are capable of independent thinking. As technology come by more and more, you're going to have all sort of misinformation, malinformation, disinformation, and you name it. We need to have good independent thinking. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you very much for your time. I thank my speakers and panel discussion here. I hope you have enjoyed it. Thank you very much. And please help me give a hand to the panelists.
Thank you. Please give a big hand.